You feel it before you name it, a quiet tremor beneath your usual thoughts. It moves like a shadow brushing the edge of your awareness, patient and deliberate. You try to breathe through it, and even then it lingers. There is something inside you that does not want to be soothed. Something that resists every attempt at calm. Something that watches you from within, waiting for the moment when your guard falls and the truth becomes impossible to ignore. You have tried to heal. You have tried to outgrow old wounds. You have spoken softly to the places where you hurt, hoping tenderness would loosen the knots that tighten in your chest. And yet, in the silence of certain nights, it feels as if something deeper pulls the strings. Not your fear, not your pain, something older, something that does not rise to be healed, but to rise at all costs. There are moments when you sense this presence clearly. It is not cruel, but it is hungry. It wants movement. It wants expression. It wants strength, agency, voice. You feel it in the way you react without thinking, in the way anger floods your hands before you have time to speak, in the way desire rushes through you like a wildfire that refuses containment. It feels as if a part of you has been waiting for years to take back what was denied, and it does not care whether the return happens gracefully or through collapse. You wonder why it grows louder the more you pursue peace. You wonder why the shadow seems to sharpen just when you believe you have found balance. But the truth whispers beneath the surface, soft and steady, like a river that remembers its original path. The shadow does not want healing. Not at first. It wants power. It wants to reclaim the fragments of you that were silenced, controlled, dismissed, repressed. It wants to step out of the forest where you left it and stand beside you in the open air. You may not want to see this. You may not be ready to admit that the parts of you labeled dangerous are the same parts that once protected you. But something in you already knows. Something remembers the moment you first hid your fire. Something recalls the day you learned to dim your own voice just to be accepted, loved, tolerated. And now that same fire pushes from below, asking you to stop running from the force that once kept you alive. You feel the tension of it, the pull between the self you show and the self you fear, between the calm surface and the storm beneath it, between the desire to stay safe and the instinct to break free. You feel it each time your reflection looks unfamiliar, each time your dreams speak in symbols, each time a forgotten memory rises like smoke. And yet, beneath it all, something still calls your name. Something invites you to step closer, not to tame the shadow, but to understand why it demands power before it accepts peace. The answer waits in the darkness, not as a threat, but as an initiation. A threshold, a door that only opens when you stop pretending you are made of light alone. Now you stand before this door, breathing slowly, feeling the weight of everything you have avoided. The night around you is quiet. The forest is still. The path ahead is not clear, but it is yours. And as you take your first step, you notice that the shadow moves with you, not behind you. Ready to speak, ready to be seen, ready to change everything. You walk deeper into the quiet space within you, and the air shifts. It feels like entering an ancient corridor where every wall remembers something you forgot. You sense the texture of those memories like dust rising in a beam of light, delicate yet charged with meaning. Each breath draws you closer to the truth you have avoided, the truth that your shadow has been trying to reveal without words. It does not rise to sabotage you. It rises because it was never meant to stay buried. You feel the presence of this inner figure as if it were sitting just behind your ribs. It watches, alert and patient, waiting for you to finally turn inward with enough honesty to meet its gaze. It is not darkness for the sake of darkness. It is darkness born from the moments when you were not allowed to feel, to want, to rage, to desire, to demand, to exist on your own terms. These parts of you did not disappear. They learned to survive in silence. They learned to gather strength where no one could see. The shadow is the keeper of everything you pushed away. Every impulse you denied. Every emotion you swallowed. Every word you never spoke. You sense how heavy that burden must be. You sense how long it has been waiting for you to stop pretending that repression is the same as healing. It knows you cannot be whole while pieces of you sit locked behind closed doors. It knows that true transformation begins when you gather courage to face the parts of yourself that frighten you, not because they are evil, but because they contain your rawest power. The forest inside you thickens as you walk. Branches lean inward, forming a path made of memory and instinct. You recognize symbols that have always lived in your dreams. A mirror reflecting a face you do not fully recognize. A flame that refuses to go out. A river running beneath the surface of your awareness, carrying truths that have no language. These symbols are not random. They are the way your unconscious speaks. They are the bridges between the self you know and the self you abandoned. You reach the edge of a clearing. There, in the center, stands a figure shaped by shadow and light. It is not a monster. It is not an enemy. It is the part of you that learned to survive without permission. Its presence is grounding, heavy, almost sacred. You realize that this figure does not seek your destruction. It seeks recognition. It seeks the return of its voice. It seeks power because it remembers the moment you lost yours. You feel a tremor in your chest as you approach. There is fear, but beneath the fear there is longing, a quiet desire to reclaim something essential. You notice how your body reacts. Your breath deepens. Your hands warm. Your spine straightens as if something ancient within you remembers its original shape. The shadow responds to your presence, not with aggression, but with a calm intensity, like a flame growing taller when wind passes through. You begin to understand that the shadow does not want healing in the way you imagined healing should happen. It wants restoration. It wants empowerment. It wants alignment with your whole being. Healing without power leaves you fragile. Power without healing leaves you lost. The shadow holds the bridge between both. It pushes forward when you deny who you are. It rises when you shrink yourself. It whispers when you silence your truth. It intensifies when you try to heal by becoming smaller, softer, quieter than your soul was ever meant to be. As you stand in the clearing, something shifts inside you. You sense that the shadow has been guiding you, not through harmony, but through friction. Every conflict, every outburst, every moment you felt out of control, these were signals, invitations, attempts to awaken you. The shadow does not want pain. It wants the return of your full strength. It wants the fullness of who you are, not the edited version you thought would keep you safe. The forest around you feels alive now. The air thickens with meaning. A door appears at the far edge of the clearing, carved with symbols that flicker like light reflected on water. You sense that passing through this door will not erase your shadow. It will unite you with it. It will give you access to the force that has been waiting beneath your skin. You feel the weight of this moment. A threshold, a quiet initiation. And yet, beneath it all, something still calls your name. A voice that feels both familiar and forgotten. A reminder that the journey ahead is not about taming the shadow, but about learning to walk with its strength instead of fearing its presence. The door waits in the dim glow of your awareness, and you feel the forest breathe with you. You take one step closer, and the clearing shifts. The shadow follows. You step through the door, and the temperature of the inner world changes. The air feels denser, almost warm against your skin, as if the space itself recognizes your presence and adjusts to hold you. You walk slowly, listening to the faint hum beneath your footsteps. It feels like the echo of forgotten instincts, the ones you once trusted before you learned to doubt yourself. Every step stirs something ancient, something that remembers your earliest battles and the silent vows you made to survive. You feel your chest tighten as you move deeper. This part of the journey is not gentle. It is the place where old emotions rise like smoke, curling through your awareness with shapes you can almost touch. You sense anger that was never expressed. You sense grief that never had space to breathe. You sense desire that was never allowed to fully awaken. These emotions drift through you like figures in a dream, and for a moment, you do not know whether they rise from your past or from the ground beneath your feet. The shadow watches from the distance, still and deliberate. Its presence is not threatening. It feels more like a guardian, a keeper of the truths you learned to hide. You sense that it burns with the weight of your unspoken life. It carries the flame of everything you swallowed to remain acceptable, lovable, predictable. You begin to realize that this figure is the embodiment of your language before you had words. It speaks in impulse, instinct, tension. It is the raw shape of the self untouched by conditioning. You feel the psychological movement happening inside you. It is subtle but undeniable. You begin to understand that the shadow is not a collection of flaws or wounds. It is the part of you that refused to die when the world demanded that you split yourself in half. It is the reservoir of libido, the pure generative force that fuels your thoughts, desires, actions. It does not speak the language of healing, because healing was never the goal. The goal was survival. The goal was integrity. The goal was the preservation of your inner fire. A flame appears ahead of you, hovering in the air like an ember suspended in time. It pulses softly, almost like a heartbeat. This flame represents the moment you first pushed yourself away, the moment you decided that your truth was too much. You move closer, and the heat brushes your skin with a quiet intensity. It is not painful. It is alive. It feels like touching the core of a long-forgotten memory. It feels like finally standing in front of yourself without any disguise. The flame brightens as you approach, and for a moment you feel the strength you once abandoned. You feel the power of a younger self rising in your chest, demanding to be reclaimed. This is the part of you that never wanted permission, the part that never wanted to be small, the part that never wanted to ask before existing. You sense how much vitality is stored here. You sense how much of your life has been drained by the act of suppressing this force. You reach out your hand, and the flame responds, not by burning, but by revealing. It shows you the truth you have avoided for too long. You cannot heal what you still fear. You cannot release what you still deny. You cannot grow while abandoning the power that once protected you. The shadow rises because you need the strength it carries. It rises because healing without power makes you fragile. Power without healing makes you lost. But both together make you whole. The flame dims slowly, as if acknowledging that you have understood enough for now. The path ahead opens, quiet and steady. You breathe once, sensing the shift. Something inside you settles, yet something else wakes. A new movement begins in your awareness. The shadow follows as you step forward, guiding you into the next chamber of your inner world, where deeper truths wait to be seen. You enter the next chamber, and the atmosphere shifts again. The air becomes cooler, almost damp, like the breath of an old cavern shaped by time and memory. You pause for a moment, letting your eyes adjust to the dim glow that rises from the ground itself. Here the silence is different. It has weight. It presses gently against your skin, inviting you to listen not with your ears, but with the deeper senses you often forget you possess. You feel the pull of the unconscious more clearly now, steady and unmistakable. You walk slowly, and each step echoes like a soft ripple through water. This place carries the residue of forgotten emotions, but it also holds something sharper. You sense the presence of patterns that shaped you before you ever knew you were shaping anything. You feel the imprint of old defenses that hardened around your heart when you were too young to understand why you needed them. You feel the tension of choices you never consciously made. It is as if the chamber stores the architecture of your inner labyrinth, the map of the self you built in shadows. The shadow stands closer now. Its figure seems more defined, as though the darkness that once concealed it is slowly becoming part of the light. You notice that its posture mirrors yours, not perfectly, but closely enough to reveal a truth you had avoided. This figure is not separate from you. It is made of your movements, your reactions, your silent decisions. It carries your forgotten authority. It holds the parts of your psyche that refused to surrender when life demanded your obedience. You begin to feel the subtle bond between you and it, a thread woven through every moment you felt split in two. Deep in the chamber, a mirror emerges from the shadows. It is tall, silvered, imperfect. The surface ripples like the surface of a lake disturbed by wind. You approach with caution, sensing that what you will see is not literal reflection, but symbolic truth. As you stand before it, the image shifts. It shows you a version of yourself that does not match your external life. This reflection is fierce, unfiltered, unapologetic. It holds your real hunger for freedom, for authenticity, for self-ownership. You recognize it instinctively, and that recognition creates a tremor in your chest. The psychology beneath this moment is quiet but powerful. You begin to understand that the shadow wants power because for too long it has been the keeper of everything you were not allowed to claim. Your assertiveness, your boundaries, your instincts, your sexuality, your anger, your capacity for risk, your authority. Every time you silence these qualities to fit into an external mold, you handed a piece of your strength to the shadow. It did not take your power. It protected it for you. It stored it until you could return with enough consciousness to reclaim it. The mirror ripples again, revealing a darker image. This time you see yourself in moments of self-betrayal. Every yes that should have been no. Every silence that should have been truth. Every moment you made yourself small to keep the peace. The reflection is not here to shame you. It is here to reveal the cost of your fragmentation. It shows how much of your inner fire you had to hide to remain acceptable. It shows how the shadow grew heavy with the pieces of you that you sacrificed for belonging. The image shifts once more, and something inside you loosens. You see the core truth that the unconscious has been trying to communicate. Healing does not come from silencing the shadow, but from letting it speak. Power does not come from rejecting the darkness, but from integrating the fire it carries. You realize that every inner conflict, every emotional eruption, every impulsive reaction was not the shadow trying to break you. It was trying to wake you. It was trying to get you to remember where your strength had gone. The mirror fades slowly, dissolving back into the chamber. The shadow moves closer, its presence no longer intimidating but grounding. You feel a subtle warmth rise in your chest, a signal that something within you has begun to align. The path ahead opens again, carved into the stone floor like a riverbed formed by years of silent flow. You take a deep breath, sensing that you are being guided toward a deeper layer of yourself, where the roots of your shadow stretch into the soil of your unconscious life. You step forward, and the shadow walks beside you. You follow the path into the third chamber, and the air feels warmer again, as if the space has been waiting for you with a quiet sense of anticipation. A faint golden glow rises from the floor, illuminating the stone walls with a soft pulse, almost like breath. You sense immediately that this place holds something different. Not the weight of memory, not the density of repressed emotion, but the raw energy that moves behind your choices, the silent force that shapes the direction of your life even when you believe you are lost. It feels like entering the heart of your own inner fire. You walk deeper, and you feel the ground shift beneath you. Not physically, psychologically, emotionally. You notice a familiar tension lifting from your body, the tension that comes from spending years trying to be gentle when a part of you is built for intensity. The room seems to respond to this realization. Light gathers in the corners, drawing patterns on the floor that resemble flowing water, rising flame, drifting smoke. These elements combine into a rhythm that feels strangely familiar. You begin to understand that you are standing inside the symbolic center of your own instinctive power. The shadow stands a few steps ahead of you now, facing away as if guiding you towards something it has protected for a long time. You sense that this chamber holds the truth behind its hunger. The shadow does not want dominance. It does not want chaos. It wants the return of your sovereignty. It wants the version of you that existed before fear carved boundaries you never questioned. You feel this truth settle into your bones. The shadow has been carrying your voice, your hunger, your courage, your will. It wants you to take them back so the inner split can finally end. At the center of the chamber sits a circular pool of dark water. Its surface is perfectly still, a quiet mirror made not of reflection but of depth. You kneel beside it, and as you peer into the darkness, you see the truth buried beneath your unconscious layers. At first there is only shadow, shifting softly like smoke underwater. Then shapes begin to form. A younger version of you, a forgotten version, a self that never learned to apologize for existing. You see the spark in its eyes, the wild clarity, the instinctive strength that life later demanded you trade for safety. The water begins to move, swirling slowly, revealing the symbolic meaning beneath the image. You realize that the shadow's desire for power is not corruption. It is compensation. It has been holding the charge of your unclaimed life. Every time you silenced yourself to avoid conflict, the shadow took your strength and stored it. Every time you betrayed your own needs, the shadow absorbed the pain and hid the truth. Every time you acted out of fear instead of authenticity, the shadow amplified the tension so you could feel where you were abandoning yourself. It has been speaking through symptoms, impulses, dreams. A quiet understanding rises in you. The shadow has been carrying your life force, waiting for the moment you would stop running from who you are becoming. It wants to return this power to you, but it needs you to be capable of holding it without collapsing into old patterns. The desire for power within the shadow is not a desire to control the world, but to restore the balance within you, to reconnect you with the fire that makes transformation possible, to give you the strength needed to follow your path without shrinking back into someone else's idea of who you should be. The water glows softly, and a final image appears. A bridge made of light and smoke, stretching between two cliffs. One cliff is the self you show to the world, polished, careful, contained. The other is the self you avoid, raw, fierce, unfiltered. The bridge represents the integration you have been avoiding. The alchemy that happens when you stop fighting your inner fire and begin to move with it. You feel how natural this connection could be if you allowed it. You feel how much energy would return to your life if you stopped dividing yourself. The image fades, and the pool becomes still again. You rise slowly, sensing a new steadiness in your body, a new rhythm in your breath. The shadow steps closer and stands beside you, no longer as a guardian of what you rejected, but as a quiet ally. You understand that you have reached the threshold where fragmentation begins to dissolve. The part of you that once felt dangerous now feels necessary. The part of you that once felt threatening now feels essential to your becoming. The chamber brightens gently, and a new path opens before you. It glows with a faint golden hue, like dawn breaking through dense forest. You feel the shift in your inner world, a sense of readiness, a sense of returning to your own strength. You inhale deeply, feeling the shadow's presence not as an adversary, but as a guide that has walked with you through the darkest roots of your psyche. You step forward, carrying a new truth within you. The shadow walks at your side, and the path ahead leads toward the moment when everything will come together. You follow the golden path as it winds upward, and the chambers behind you begin to fade like dissolving dreams. The air grows lighter with each step. The weight you carried through the darkness loosens, drifting away as if it has served its purpose and no longer needs to cling to your body. You feel the quiet shift in your breath. You feel the way your chest expands without resistance. For the first time in a long time, nothing inside you is pulling in opposing directions. There is a soft alignment forming, subtle but undeniable. As the path rises, the forest reappears. Not the dense, silent forest you entered before, but one touched by dawn. Pale light filters through the branches, casting long ribbons of gold across the ground. The trees feel more spacious now. The air carries a gentle clarity. It is as if the world within you is waking from a long night. You walk slowly, absorbing each detail, sensing how your inner landscape rearranges itself. It is no longer a battlefield between light and shadow. It is a place where both stand side by side. The shadow walks beside you, quieter than before, but somehow more present. It no longer demands attention. It no longer pulls at your emotions. It feels grounded, steady, almost serene. You realize that its hunger for power was never aggression. It was longing, a longing to be restored, a longing to return to the whole, a longing to give you back the vitality you lost when you learned to hide your truth. Now that you have faced it, listened to it, walked with it, something inside you has unlocked. A gate opened. A river that was dammed has begun to flow. You feel this river move through you. It feels like warmth in your spine, like clarity behind your eyes, like stillness spreading through your thoughts. This is the moment when the separate pieces begin to fit together. The parts you feared blend with the parts you trusted. The instincts you rejected merge with the wisdom you cultivated. You are no longer fighting your nature. You are moving with it. You feel how natural this integration is, how the psyche knows exactly what to do when you stop resisting its rhythm. You walk deeper into the forest, and a clearing opens before you. Soft light gathers in the center, forming the shape of a quiet fire. Not the wild fire of earlier visions. This one burns low and steady, like a permanent flame that cannot be extinguished. You approach with reverence. You sense immediately what it represents. This flame is not the shadow. It is not the persona. It is the self, the deeper ground beneath both. It is the source that holds your contradictions without collapsing. It is the center that knows how to unite what you once believed could never meet. The shadow stops at the edge of the clearing, watching silently. You step toward the flame, and as you do, you feel its warmth spread through every layer of your being. It feels like coming home to a place you forgot. It feels like remembering a truth you sensed as a child, but lost along the way. The flame does not judge the journey that brought you here. It welcomes every part of you, every error, every wound, every moment of strength, every moment of fear. It receives all of it with a calm that softens your entire body. Something indescribable happens as you stand before the flame. The shadow moves closer, but not as a separate figure. Its form dissolves gently into the light, revealing that the boundary between darkness and flame has always been thinner than you believed. The power it carried was the power you abandoned. The instincts it held were fragments of your original wholeness. As the shadow blends with the flame, you feel the return of something lost. A quiet authority, a deeper sense of presence, a calm that carries strength rather than avoidance. You breathe slowly, letting this integration settle into your awareness. You can feel how the energy moves through you differently now, not rushed, not explosive, but grounded, complete. You feel that the cycle of inner conflict has loosened. You feel that the part of you that once demanded power no longer needs to demand anything. It has been acknowledged. It has been seen. It has been invited back into the center. The clearing brightens as if recognizing your shift. The trees stand taller. The air turns luminous. You sense the beginning of transcendence, not as escape, but as expansion. You feel your inner world widening. You feel the boundaries of your old identity softening, making room for a more authentic, more aligned version of yourself. A version that can carry your shadow without fear. A version that can stand in your truth without apology. You take another breath, slow and deep, and everything becomes still. A stillness that feels like clarity. A stillness that feels like a new beginning rising from within. The forest holds this moment gently, as if honoring the work you have done. You stand between shadow and flame, between the self that hid and the self that rises. And for the first time, they feel like one. The path ahead waits quietly, opening toward a final space where the journey will settle into understanding. You inhale, steady and full, and step forward. You walk into the final space, and the forest fades into a soft horizon of light. The air feels open now, spacious in a way that allows your breath to fall into a natural rhythm. Nothing inside you feels rushed. Nothing feels pushed. The journey that once pressed against your chest has settled into a quiet sense of presence. You feel the warmth of the flame behind you, and somewhere in that warmth, the shadow rests without tension. It no longer pulls at you. It no longer hides from you. It has become part of the ground you stand on. You move slowly through this luminous field, and a new thought rises with the ease of morning fog lifting from a river. You realize that the shadow never wanted to frighten you. It wanted to restore you. It wanted to bring back the parts of you that were exiled in moments of fear or confusion. It wanted to return your voice, your instinct, your fire. You feel this truth like a gentle weight in your heart, grounding you, anchoring you. Sometimes the unconscious breaks what is false, so the truth can breathe again. Sometimes power must return before healing can unfold. You breathe in, and the field brightens. You feel a subtle expansion in your chest, the kind that arrives when resistance dissolves. There is no need to fix anything now. No need to analyze or control. The inner movement has already begun. You sense the way the shadow's energy has woven itself back into your presence. It feels like strength, but not loud. It feels like clarity, but not rigid. It feels like a deeper center forming quietly within you. A center that can hold you through what comes next without collapsing into fear. You keep walking, and the horizon opens like a slow sunrise. The colors shift from pale gold to soft rose, blending into a sky that feels both familiar and new. The landscape of your inner world has changed. The forest behind you is no longer a maze, no longer a place where you lose yourself. It feels like a sanctuary now, a place where you can return when you need to remember who you are beneath the noise of your life. You sense that the path you walk from this moment forward will be different, not because the world has changed, but because you have. Your steps become quieter. Your breath deepens. You feel the presence of your own self moving with you, steady as a temple, soft as a river, warm as fire, clear as dawn. You understand now that healing is not the absence of shadow. Healing is the moment when you stop treating your inner fire as a threat. You let the light and the dark breathe together. You let them form a single truth. And in that truth, your whole being becomes spacious again. The horizon settles into a gentle glow. You stop walking. The silence around you feels full, almost sacred. You close your eyes, and for a moment, you listen to the movement within. It is quiet. It is steady. It is alive. You understand that the work is not over, but the fear that once wrapped around it has dissolved. Now there is room for curiosity, room for softness, room for strength. You understand that the shadow will speak again, and when it does, you will meet it with a steadier heart. You open your eyes slowly, and the light around you grows calm. The journey has come to rest, not in finality, but in a deeper beginning. You feel the soft weight of your own presence settling into your body. Nothing pushes, nothing rushes. The path continues within you, and you know you will walk it with more ease now. You take one last breath, light and deep, and let it flow through your entire being. In that breath, something loosens, something settles, something returns home, and in the quiet that follows, you feel a soft whisper rise from within, peaceful and clear. You are finally whole enough to listen,